For the first time in a long time, Wendy Williams' voice is being heard in the media. She and her niece, Alex Finney, did two informative and emotional interviews, one with The Breakfast Club and one with Jason Lee. And these interviews have been set up specifically for Wendy to talk about the conservatorship that she finds herself trapped in. And Alex was there to be her proxy for things that she couldn't say because there's an ongoing legal battle to get out of the conservatorship. So for starters, we got to talk about what a guardianship/conservatorship is and how did Wendy end up in this spot. According to this article from NPR, a guardianship, commonly known as a conservatorship, is a legal process set up by a court when an individual can no longer manage their affairs due to an illness, disability, or injury. So how did Wendy end up in this spot? So it's not a secret that Wendy has had substance abuse issues throughout her career, which did have an impact on her brain function, which might have had something to do with how she was performing on her show. And some people said, you need to get help. And I believe she did go to rehab before. However, when you're an addict, this is an ongoing battle. And over time, she ended up having to step away from the show due to health concerns because, she has Graves' disease and then she had other health concerns. According to this article in the New York Times, her last time being filmed for her show was in the summer of 2021. But the actual show ended in June of 2022. And unfortunately, she wasn't well enough to come to the last episode. They actually had Sherry Shepherd filling in for her. Now in 2022 is where it got really sticky. Now Wendy was still having a hard time with her health. Now Wendy loves a good label because she was in that Breakfast Club interview like, oh no, this is Hermes. And then even with Jason Lee, she said, no, the wallet, even though I got $15, it is Go Yard, baby. That sounds like a person that spends a lot of bread. I guess the spending got a little too out of hand. And she has an actual account over at Wells Fargo. She has a money management account. So like the money manager of that account wrote a letter to the judge saying that she was mentally unfit to manage her own resources and that she was the victim of undue influence and financial exploitation. So Wells Fargo actually froze her account. Now I only found this in one article, but my friend did say something about it. So I wanted to look it up for myself to make sure before I said something to somebody else. But it said in this one article that her son tried to spend over $300,000 out of her account. Now, according to these blogs or whatever, it says she's only worth like $5 million. $300,000 is quite a bit. So it sounds like Wells Fargo was saying, we need to protect you from your son who's exploiting you financially. With the way that Wendy thinks about her son, I feel like she probably would have been okay with him taking that money back then, and she's probably okay with him taking it now. It's just that the financial institution doesn't want her to do that. So essentially, that letter from Wells Fargo set this in motion with an actual judge. And I know Wells Fargo is likely going to say, oh, we were just protecting our client. But it seems like they're protecting their own interest. And that's the bottom line, because they're a bank. And more than anything, a bank wants to keep your money in their accounts so they can use it for themselves. They have to make more and more money. If she has millions in their account, they're going to watch out for that. So I feel like they might have been plotting and said, oh, she doesn't seem like she's all the way there. We can make a move on this money and we can manage the resources and use it for whatever we want to use it for. That's just speculation, but that's just what it feels like to me. This wouldn't be the first time they participated in some shady business practices. So they wrote the letter to the judge. The judge granted a temporary conservatorship to an independent guardian. And the guardian had way more power than the family. So she revoked the power of attorney from Kevin Jr. And that's interesting because it seems like they're trying to drive a wedge between her and her son. In order to give somebody power of attorney over you, you really got to trust or love that person. So it seems like something nefarious is going on here, in my opinion. And since we're in New York, let's just go ahead and put some faces up on that Summer Jam screen. These are a few of the culprits that put her in the conservatorship. It was supposed to be temporary, but somehow it got to a few years. Because now she's all of a sudden permanently incapacitated, which means they would have control until her death. So let's get to these interviews from Breakfast Club and Hollywood Unlocked. So for starters, Wendy, with the help of Alex, had this conversation about how she feels like she's in prison.
Where I am, the men and women are in their 90s. Some are in their 80s and some are in their 70s. And I don't care if they're 60 like me. And nobody here is anything like me in the way of, feeling and moving and talking. I don't have anybody to talk to here. You understand? This is an old age home. This is the type of home. Well, Alex, you've been here before. You understand where I am.
Yeah.
Listen, Jason, I eat food right here on the couch. I watch TV. I've got radio, and I look at the window. And this is what I do.
And that's day in and day out.
Yes.
Every day, every week, every hour. And, Jason, it's funny because I just want to jump in here real quick, Aunt Wendy, when she was saying, you can hear the exuberance and almost in terms of there's so many different things that she's trying to get out. Because all of this has been happening and she hasn't been able to talk to anyone about it. So these are literally our conversations. She can't talk to her friends like you. She can't go out to a simple lunch, and go outside when she wants to. She can't just have unrestricted access to the people and the things that she loves. And, like I was saying earlier, being able to live her life in a dignified way that matches the person that she actually is, not the person that they're trying to put her out here to be, but who she actually is, who we're all hearing in this moment.
See, I feel emotionally abused, Jason. It's like, to be sequestered, the guardian and my system that I happen to be dealing with through this guardian person and the judge and the attorney, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm being sequestered so that you can put in the media whatever they tell you that I am. You understand what I'm saying, Jason?
Yes. When you talk to Sabrina Morrissey about getting out, what does she say?
Sabrina Morrissey says anything to keep me here because Sabrina's making money from me, and she told me that there's no money. And that's a lie. You're not going to be with somebody for 3 years and not make money from me, especially the several million that I know that she has holding me hostage. Like my money, like I have like $15. And that's all I've had for 3 years.
No, I mean, for 3 years, this is the reality. This has been our lives. So, but specifically her life. She can call us. We can't call her. That's been the reality since 2023. Wow. Alex, that room that she's sitting in, she's there every day, all hours of the day, every week, every month. She's not getting proper sunlight. I went to New York in October to visit her. And the level of security and the level of questions that there were in terms of who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose? I mean, it was absolutely just horrible.
Alex, we sent Lauren LaRosa, who works here on the Breakfast Club. I connected her with Wendy a couple of days ago. Lauren went up there yesterday. And tell them what happened, Lauren.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Alex, was it like this for you? When I got there, the people at the front were very aware that Wendy was there. They had me sign in. Her name was in the system. They had to call Sabrina to even see if I could go up there, even though Wendy was on the phone with me when I arrived. And she let them know, hey, this is my guest. I want to see her. I'll even come down. Please have someone bring me down. Because as she said, she can't get in the elevator nor leave her room without them unlocking things for her.
Wow.
They were aware of that and everything was fine. And I was waiting. They called Sabrina a couple times and she didn't answer the phone when they called. And then all of a sudden things just like flipped. These like men came out and they're like, well, who are you? And what are you here for? I told them who I was. I told them I was there to see Wendy. They said, we don't have anyone here by that name.
Oh, wow.
They never said to me.
Did you believe that?
No, I didn't make, did I not make it upstairs? They basically told me I didn't even feel comfortable still being in the lobby the way that I was treated. Like it was insane, especially being as though Wendy was on the phone with me when I walked in and she spoke to the concierge herself and said, I want to see this person. She is here for me. And then these people are like, she's not even here. What are you talking about? And I'm like, I dealt with your colleagues that had me sign in for her. She's in your system. So you're going to tell me she's not here? Or did you speak to Sabrina as well? Because they said that was protocol. You have to call Sabrina first. We don't know Sabrina and we don't know Wendy. She's not here. They said that to me multiple times.
Wow. You know,
and it's scary. It's very scary.
Did you feel like she was in a safe space?
No, I feel like if you dealing with me like that and she's on the phone with you telling you like this is, you know what I mean, I want to see her, this is my people, God forbid something happens to her and her family needs to get to her. And I asked Wendy that as I was walking out, I'm like, yo, man, like I've dealt with my mom and my grandmother went through medical stuff and a bunch of stuff, right? I can't imagine not being able to get to them.
See my mother.
Right, and I said, is this how it is when your family comes? And Wendy's like, yes.
So as I was listening to the interviews, I recognized that Wendy sounded more sharp than people try to give her credit for. Some people said, oh, she was still stumbling a little bit. But I think some of it was her not being able to say everything she wanted to say. She couldn't call the woman by her name. That's Sabrina Morrissey, the woman that's the guardian. So she kept calling her that person or the guardian, all that kind of stuff. So that's why she had her proxy there, where sometimes she was like, Charlemagne, say something, or Alex, go ahead, because she can't say everything. But she still sounded sharp and she was still messy. You know, she was like, the Diddy's done. Like she was having a good time. And she sounds like a person that's missing human interaction. Like, too much isolation can do a lot to your mental health as well. So you might not be as up as people think you're supposed to be. She needs human interaction. It's just not normal to be separated from everybody that you actually know. She even has to ask for permission to go see her father, who turns 94 next month. And it was absolutely heartbreaking to hear her break down on the Breakfast Club when she was talking about potentially not being able to see him on his big day.
Like, I'm exhausted thinking about, what if I can't see my dad for his birthday? You know, at 94, you know, the day after that is not promised. It's not promised. You know, I have things from my dad that's in storage. And they're little things that I say, you know, I'm not going to give it to him, but I'm going to sew them and make them so that they look perfect on me. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I know how to sew. I've known how to sew for years. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, like, I want to give my dad some sort of fragrance. You know, I want to go to Sephora and pick and choose. What? I might not be.
Yeah.
My life is, like, fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
Alex, do you think that there'll be some type of retaliation from the Guardian because of maybe this phone call or because of wow.
We talked about that. Mm-hmm. You know, my aunt, even with her wanting to come on, we talked about all scenarios. I said, you know, do this. You ready for what's on the other side? And as she said, I have to do this. There's nothing else I could do at this point. She's prepared for the fact that her phone might be taken away.
What if they take my phone? I won't be able to talk to anybody.
Yeah. And, you know.
And she's absolutely right. Tomorrow isn't promised. So the fact that this isn't confirmed plans by the Guardian is a problem. To keep someone isolated and locked away from the people that they love is actually pretty inhumane. The people at the home with her are not her people. It's like they want her to devolve mentally on purpose. You know who is her people, though? The people that she's talking to on the phone. Charlamagne has been down with her for 20 plus years. Without her, it's no Charlamagne or DJ Envy or Just Hilarious or even Lauren. Jason Lee is also her people. I really like this strategy because in the media, we only get that one side of the story from the Guardian and the lawyer that represents the Guardian. And Wendy has plenty of friends in media. Like Jason Lee said, Don Lemon was texting him. I love the fact that her friends are coming to bat for her. It's a beautiful thing to see loyalty playing out in real time.
Yeah, well, you know what? This has been a really, you know, like I flew to Miami from New York, you know, for my son, he finished, college, and, and I was there in Miami for 9 days. This was, about a month, less than a month ago, you know what I'm saying? We had a great time, you know what I'm saying? The family, I mean, we did so many different things, and this Guardian person can't stand that I had such a great time. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm in prison. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, no, Wendy, I don't know that she's mad that you had a good time. I think she's mad that we now see that you're not incapacitated the way that they've told the media, that you're not, that you've lost all of your mind, you don't know where you are. I mean, the way that they've communicated to the world is almost as if you don't even know who you are. You sound better than ever right now on the phone. So I'm confused.
Look, this system is broken. That this system that I'm in, this system has falsified, a lot. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
They said you're cognitively impaired and you're incapacitated.
Do I seem that way?
No.
You've been calling me 5 times a day for the last 2 weeks. No, you don't seem that way.
Right. How dare, excuse me, who I naturally am is who I naturally am. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
And my niece knows all about that crap.
It's starting to sound like the narrative has been pushed in a certain direction for a certain reason. It's too many hands in too many pots financially. You got to remember, people benefit from her not being free. And so that makes us have to look at who's doing this. Let's look at the judge.
I saw the Black Information Network reported that the judge overseeing Wendy's guardianship, her name is Lisa Sokoloff. She was once under investigation because of a concerning link between her and guardianship cases. And there was like a 6-month probe over allegations she took bribes from guardianship lawyers. Just something to know. I mean, it's just something's clearly going on.
Yeah, something seems off.
Look at the Guardian. Does she have any weird cases lying around?
The A&E lawsuit that Sabrina Morrissey filed, Sabrina is claiming that Wendy was not and is not capable for consenting to the terms of the documentary contract, and no one acting in Williams' best interest would allow her to be portrayed in the demeaning manner in which she is portrayed in the trailer for the documentary. So it would behoove the attorney, Roberta Kaplan, to say Wendy has dementia.
That Wendy's not. But in the same turn, if you're supposed to be watching over her,
exactly,
and you're saying that they did her dirty or that she wasn't in the right state of mind to do that contract.
Sabrina, you were the guardian when all that happened.
Sabrina was the guardian when that happened, right?
Since 2022. Yeah,
so wouldn't Sabrina be in fault? Like she wouldn't be doing her job?
Sabrina Morrissey.
If she was the one that was in control of Wendy at that time?
Yeah, she must be one of those people who don't have Wendy's best interest because, like we just said, you've been her guardian since 2022. So why would you allow her to sign the document if you didn't think she was capable of consenting to the terms?
What about Wendy's quote-unquote lawyer?
Now, one of the reactions, it's coming from an attorney. Her name is Roberta Kaplan. She spoke to TMZ, and she said that people should not be fooled by Wendy Williams and how good Wendy Williams sounded when she called into our show yesterday, because Wendy Williams does still have dementia, and with dementia, you have some good days and you have some bad days. So because she had a good day yesterday when she did that interview, basically she's saying don't judge her her state right now based off of that. Now, in the story, Roberta is listed as Wendy Williams' attorney, but I did want to clarify that she is the attorney that is assigned to the case with A&E. So Wendy Williams, conservator, is in a legal dispute with A&E over the Wendy Williams doc, and Roberta Kaplan is the attorney for that situation specifically.
I just want to reiterate what you said, Lauren. Roberta Kaplan isn't Wendy's lawyer. She's only representing Wendy in her lawsuit against A&E for producing the documentary Where's Wendy Williams.
Correct.
And that lawyer was hired by her guardian, Sabrina Morrissey.
Yes, and I guess like if you're being technical, it's like if you're hired by the conservator who represents Wendy now at this point, you could argue, yes, I'm Wendy's attorney, but
she's allegedly on Sabrina's side,
I think
right?
the way that it's being reported is unfair to the situation because it's being reported as if this is her like everyday attorney who would know her enough to speak for her outside of just the health evaluation.
So this is not Wendy's everyday attorney. This is only
not
attorney
from what
that
I am
Sabrina
reading,
got for A&E allegedly, right?
100%, not from everything that I am understanding.
I think people should look at their relationships more closely. Also, we got to ask, what is Wells Fargo gaining from this? Because Wendy was actually trying to fight back against Wells Fargo. According to Wendy's former attorney, the guardianship was less about protecting the TV star and more about covering up alleged financial malfeasance. But what Lori Schiller, the financial advisor at Wells Fargo, said was that Wendy was of unsound mind. But honestly, both things could be true at the same time. Wells Fargo could have been trying to mismanage her funds, and Wendy could have been having cognitive issues at that time. I think my problem with the issue is that it was supposed to be temporary, which I would think would be some months. Instead, it is now some years. And Wendy and Alex actually were upfront about that.
I mean, here it is, Jason. You know, you've heard her. You know, I mean, you see the reports. People have now seen her. They're hearing her. We're having these conversations, and I think one thing that my aunt has been very clear about is that she doesn't say and negate the fact that yes, she went through something, you know, and that she's, you know, it took a minute to get on the other side. She's not negating that, but what she's saying right now that, you know, we're all saying is that she clearly is not the person that we saw, and the messaging that's been put out there is as if she's even worse than we saw her a year ago.
And by the way,
so what we're all able to tell, that's just not true.
So at least she's fighting back. Another thing that alarms me is the fact that she's so afraid of retaliation from her guardian. This sounds like an abusive relationship. The guardian has way too much power. What Alex alleged after Lauren's visit is ridiculous.
Lauren, I want to say something because I did hear yesterday about you going and it was like the whole mess, which you just explained.
Yes.
Also, I want to go a little bit further with that, Wendy, because we talked about this yesterday. That happened and the alarm bells started ringing. That's when my aunt was told, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you know, your cats chit-chatting my way. And anybody that's a Wendy fan knows how much my aunt loves chit-chatting my way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gave those cats away. You don't have them anymore.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Your dad's birthday? Well, that's up in the air. You're going to have to talk with Linda.
Me and Wendy talked about those cats the whole way there. Yes. Oh my God.
It's like she's getting punished for just trying to be a normal person
to live
about society and to live. Exactly.
And for the record, Wendy was really excited to talk about those cats when I got there. That's all she was talking about. It's like, we got to talk about the cats because she said that her cats have been in like a home or something like that for a year, and she doesn't know how they're being treated, and that she wanted to talk about that. Like she really wanted to talk to me about that, and I'm like, I'm being treated as if I'm here to rob a bank, and I'm just here because she's lonely and she just wants to talk to someone and see someone in person, and she lit up when she saw me walking down the street. Like I couldn't believe it.
And even the treatment she received when she went down to visit her son for his graduation celebration.
I got my son a car for his graduation from college, and it had to be approved by my guardian person. It's like my money is my money. You know what I'm saying? If I want to get my son, any car in the world, I've got the funds, and it's for my son. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. People were telling me when you were in Miami with your son that they were monitoring you in a way where you didn't even really get to have alone time, that they were always near you, and in a way to try to control what you said, who said what. Is that accurate?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, and my family can attest to that. Alex, you know the deal?
Yes, there was. We were being watched like hawks, and there was no period in which I was able to do anything with my aunt, or that I was able to witness anybody else in my family doing things with her. That did not come without eyes on us the whole time, which was a very weird feeling.
I mean, it was something so simple, like, my son Kevin had set up a girls' day where Alex and my sister Wanda and we all went and we had our nails done, you know what I'm saying? And I bought a new wig and we had our toes done and things like that. And I was being monitored like a hawk by these two married a man and a woman. They're married people. They're from Miami. The girl, on my money, the married woman had to fly to New York stay in a hotel on my money overnight, and then the two of us flew back to Miami for my son. And yes, this is all on my money. The guardian person is spending my money hand over fist. That I don't even have receipts from shit.
So after listening to both of these interviews and hearing about the treatment and how Wendy wants to get out of it because she feels so trapped and she's not mentally incapacitated, I started looking up how she could actually get out of it. Now, since she's in New York, I had to look at the court system in New York to see how that works. Now, design-wise, this website is absolutely hideous, but it has some good information on it. So on this page, it talks about why someone would want to end a guardianship. And I think the very first reason is why Wendy and Alex are fighting right now. Wendy is like, I'm not incapacitated as they like to portray me to be. So in order to terminate a guardianship, you have to follow very specific guidelines because every county is different. So the process of ending a guardianship starts with the filing of a petition of termination. And this is a sworn document that pretty much says why it's no longer necessary to have a guardianship. And then you move on to serve that notice to the parties involved. So everybody that's involved here will get that notice. And so the next step in that process could be that the court appoints a court evaluator or counselor to the IP. This is the incapacitated person. So if they deem this necessary, they'll bring that evaluator in. Now, the evaluator will come in and review the petition and interview the IP as well as others that are involved and determine whether ending this guardianship is in the best interest of that person. So after this, a hearing will take place and the court will listen to the testimony and review all the information from all parties involved and the court evaluator, if there is one, and make a final decision on whether to terminate the guardianship or not. Now, depending on what all takes place at the hearing, the court may issue an order of termination. And after they do this, they need to get all this paperwork. They need to get a report from the guardian. They need to get all the paperwork in order for them to discharge the guardians from their duty and end the guardianship. So the person who was once considered incapacitated can regain their legal capacity. So it's going to be quite a journey ahead of them. The only way you can get out of this is through the courts because the courts put it on. And that's what they can do on the legal front. So in both interviews, Wendy and Alex were asked, what's the call to action for the people?
This is just hilarious. How you doing, Miss Wendy? I wanted to know what you want people who are listening to do. What do you want us to do? Should we tweet? Should we get online? Like what do you want us to do? Also, Alex, what do you want?
Oh, no. I'm not going to talk about that. Charlemagne, Alex, you talk about that. Go ahead.
Well, we've talked about this, and that is there's the hashtag Free Wendy. There's also a change.org petition as well. And also just making as much noise as possible, potentially, GoFundMe, whatever we have to do to make sure that my aunt is in a place where she is living her life in dignity for the woman that she is now, that's what we're going to do.
So I'm trying to do my part. I've already made a video for it to get the word out, and then I've also signed the petition. I think we just got to make some noise so it draws attention to this case, because something just doesn't feel right about it to me, and I think she should be with her family. It is my belief that the stress and depression that will come from her being isolated from the world and not being able to live a full life would actually take her down a lot faster. I really hope she gets her freedom. And I hope that this system gets further looked at, because the Breakfast Club did bring up some of the stuff that they were getting sent after that interview. And I can honestly see some of this stuff happening to a lot of people. Kanye is probably one of the main ones that I'm thinking about, because I remember years ago, he went on those rants when he was on the Life of Pablo tour, and he ended up having to be placed in the hospital. Another person I thought about, Antonio Brown. Now, people said he hasn't been right since this hit, and you know, a lot of those football players are walking around potentially with CTE. You can't figure that out until they're actually dead and you study their brain. A lot of people are actually running the risk of this happening to them. And I don't want to say too much about finances, but we do have to think about the fact that this could potentially be a way for people to say, you know what, we want to end this family's generational wealth, so we're going to take that person from their lives. I wouldn't put anything past a system that's built on greed. So look out for your people, man, because we don't know what's really going on in the world, because we don't know what the rest of the world has planned for us or what we have accrued. Thank y'all for watching, and hopefully y'all learned something from this that you can share with somebody else. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content. Take care.